Greetings and salutations. I am Neverborn, The-Abyss-That-Slumbers, and you are listening to the Eldritch God.
I've been trying to wrap my head around a particularly crazy bit of doublethink. Over and over again, I've been seeing other YouTube videos talk about all the rapes in Germany and Sweden and England and other parts of Europe. And it seems like there's a lot of migrant rapes going on. Even if it's not all true and it's only a mere fraction, that's still a significant uptake. But eventually all these videos say the same thing. Where is the outrage? Where are the feminists? And that got me thinking, actually, yeah, where are the feminists? Why don't they care? And I think I figured it out. I was watching a video earlier from Omegon when he pointed out something that was very disturbing. And I'll give you the summary here. If racism is power plus oppression, which is why no white person can be racist, and rape isn't about sex, it's about dominance and power, then clearly rape is just forced sex and oppression. Because it's a power play. Because white women are privileged, therefore they can't be raped. Now, I did some research onto this after I saw this video. This has been kicking around from at least 2014. And it seems like it might be a joke, but I'm not so sure. Having researched as many of the sources as I have, it does seem like it's something in the fringe, colored feminist group. But if you follow the logic of feminism and identity politics, it actually makes sense. It's an inevitable conclusion. I mean, the answer is, if you believe in identity politics and, this whole hierarchy of oppression, that white people, white women in particular, cannot be raped. Yes, you can force them to have sex against their will, but they can't be raped. I'm not quite sure what the difference is there, but there you have it. That's the logical conclusion. Now, I'm sure if you actually spoke to a feminist in real time, one-on-one, and you tried to explain that out, they would tell you were mad. But there is a difference between knowing what you believe and believing something you accept on faith. Because when you accept something on faith, you just accept it as the tenets of your, I dare say, feminism is a religion. You never really look at it all the way down the rabbit hole. No pun intended. It is possible that, unknowingly, internally, they have followed their own logic to its inevitable conclusion and determined, as a group, unconsciously, that there is simply no reason to become outraged about the rapes in Europe. Because, well, logically, it is impossible for white women there to get raped, much less for a minority to do the raping. They may not actually think this to its conclusion, but they might on some level have come to accept it, which is why, even though you'll point this stuff out to them time and time again, there's this, it's almost like a blind spot. That you just turn away and change the subject and refuse to think about it. I actually tried to debate this point once with a feminist, and it was amazing how quickly she just closed her eyes, turned her head away, held up her hands and shook her head and said, "You're trying to change the point, you're trying to change the point." He's like, no, my point is exactly what I'm saying. That conversation ended real quick. This would explain the seemingly blasé attitude that feminists possess when it comes to this particular topic. To them, it isn't rape, it's just a temporary suspension of white female privilege. Now, before you discount this as a reason for why feminists are ignoring the rapes in Europe, may I remind you that when Twilight came out, there were a whole bunch of 40-year-old women who were screaming like little girls over teenage boys that they were sexualizing. I think that one guy who's the werewolf was required under contract to take his shirt off each movie at least 5 times. And then, more recently, there's a 50 Shades of Grey movie came out, which honestly was one long, boring mild S&M bondage flick, but it's almost as if Hollywood has been trying to push onto women the narrative that violent and weird sex isn't rape, that in some way it's empowering, that being stalked is okay as long as it's by a hot, rich guy or someone who's undead or somebody who's a werewolf. I mean, it's like there's some sort of strange conspiracy, which I'm sure there's no conspiracy whatsoever. I mean, this is just some odd confluence of social factors coming to... what? I'm sorry, what was that? There's a whole movement to push white men to allow their women to have sex with strangers. There are actual high production and videos being put out trying to make being a cuck sound great? Really? You're seriously fucking with me right now. They advertise on YouTube? No shit. Okay. You know what? When a society gets to the point where women stop thinking getting raped by minorities is rape, and men are brainwashed to think that it's sexy to have someone else fuck your wife, and there's very few people willing to stand up and shout, "Oh, come on!" I think that society deserves to die. Seriously. Right now, I am praying to a God I do not believe in for a death that will not come. So, if you will excuse me, I'm going to go Jackson Pollock this wall next to me with my brains. And when my tainted soul reaches whatever accursed afterlife it has in store for it, I will topple whatever entity rules there. From a throne of skulls, I will rule an army of slaves, and I will order them to construct for me a mighty engine made of bone, blood, and pain, and I will use it to bore a hole from that world back into this one. The first sign of my imminent return will be when the sun is swallowed by a giant black sphere, from which will burst forth 1,000 starving crows. Then, as I pry my way back into this world, a wave of madness will sweep over the land. Men will claw out their own eyes. Pregnant women will spontaneously abort their unborn, and the fetuses will slither off to finish their incubation in moist places. And as I finish wedging my way into this reality, with tears of bubbling pitch streaming down my face, I will open 3 of my 7 mouths and sing the song that destroys the world.